Hey, Sean. Do you have an update on Cooper Kupp and his ankle?
Yeah, he'll be day to day, and it was just a lateral ankle sprain. So that was positive news for us.
Do you expect him to play against the
Not
Cardinals?
sure. I think that's the goal. I know he's going to do everything in his power, but it really is. I think it's definitely favorable where that's a real possibility that he would be available. It's not something where you're saying he's definitely going to be out for this week, but you want to see the functionality. But I know that his mindset was encouraged based on how it felt today, based on some of the results of what the scans and different things like that showed, and then his willingness to attack this and put himself in a position to be available for the team if so.
I saw after the game that you gave the game ball to your defensive captains. Why did you do that?
I thought the defense was outstanding overall. I really think, with those guys, the whole defense, the defensive coaching staff, I thought they kept us in the fight. Thought their play throughout the course of the game. And I thought Seattle did some really good things offensively where, they take the opening drive down. But then I thought a couple of our key red zone stops to keep it to 13 points. Then another one to be able to just enable them to only get to 16 and stop after stop, big play after big play, just kind of just staying the course when offensively our guys were having, just weren't having some of the success and the continuity and consistency in terms of moving the ball or coming away with points, because they had a drive offensively where they go down the field, don't end up coming away with any points when we missed on the fourth down conversion. But I was just really proud of the overall effort. And I thought the way that the game was played, so many guys that had a jersey got on the field and contributed, and it was a true team effort. But, our defensive group, they did an outstanding job. That was why those guys got the game balls.
How have you seen the defense as a whole, I guess, grow this season?
Well, I think there's been a lot of examples. I think you're getting young players that are, accumulating experience. I think yesterday was a great reflection of getting some guys back. I mentioned Ernest Jones. I thought Bobby Brown made his presence felt. You saw some guys, get more snaps than what they had been, in previous outings, and thought they played really well. The John Johnsons of the world, the Quentin Lakes. I thought Darian Kendrick had his best game, doing a great job in a lot of challenging situations. But, I think that yesterday was a really good step in the right direction, Sarah, for a lot of different reasons. And now we want to see if we can continue to build on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be right if you didn't mute yourself.
All right, Gary. Gary, we'll come back to you. Stu?
Sean, I know you held the expectation that Kyren Williams will return this week. Is that still the case? And if so,
Yes.
what will he bring to the offense?
Yes, he will. He'll be back. It'll be great to be able to get him back. His productivity, his play energy, his overall just presence. And so he's a guy that we've missed. I think a lot of guys have done a good job stepping up his absence. Thought Royce Freeman did an especially good job down the stretch, being able to really convert and create on some hard, tough runs that kept drives alive and ran some clock off. And so it'll be great to be able to continue to, see those guys develop, but get Kyren back into the mix and do his thing and hopefully pick up where he left off against Arizona.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gary, let's try it again. You're on mute, though.
Not anymore. How about there?
Gotcha.
Okay. Sean, what's it been like for you as the coach and play caller with all that Cooper has gone through dating back, to last season in spring and then the hamstring? Kind of what's it been like from your perspective to try and, put together game plans and whatnot and get this offense exactly where you want it, just with, kind of the setbacks that he's had to endure?
Well, I think the first thing is you feel for Cooper. Nobody wants to be out there as much as he does. And it's been unfortunate things that have led to him not being available, whether it was injuries last year. He didn't want to get rolled up on a toss crack play where he's doing a great job blocking a defensive end, had some setbacks. And so feel for him first and foremost. When he's out there, we all know what a unique and special player that he is. He brings a great presence to our offense. But we've got to be able to continue to adapt and adjust. And so I think that's part of our challenge as a coaching staff. I thought Austin Trammell did a really good job, Gary, of stepping up in his absence and immediately stepping in. Benny Sco took some of those reps. It was good to see Demarcus Robinson be able to make a play and contribute in a variety of ways, in addition to Puka and Tutu playing a lot of snaps. So it's never fun to see a guy like him that means so much to us go down or not be available. But it has been cool to be able to see the responses from a lot of guys that have stepped up. And, Austin Trammell immediately making a couple catches right off the jump, and thought he did a good job when he was a part of the blocking surface. And so, we've just got to be able to adjust. If there's anything that I especially learned last year, we were really fortunate my first few years of staying relatively healthy, and didn't have to navigate through a lot of the inevitable challenges that occur, pretty frequently in this league. And so I think the worst part is when you see guys get injured with the amount of work that they put in and how much they want to be available for their teammates and be able to contribute to positive outcomes. But when it does go down in an unfortunate manner, hey, how quickly are we really training the depth of the roster? How quickly are guys ready to step up and try to allow us to operate as seamlessly as possible in the absence of some really good players?
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Jordan?
Sean, are you able to say if it's the same had the surgery?
You know what? It's his right ankle. So you would probably honestly know better. I'm not 100% certain on that.
But it is his right ankle.
It is, yes.
A teaching question, if you don't mind. Obviously I understand that the empty sets are just one tool in a lot of different tools that you guys use for your offense. But what information does going empty tell you, tell your quarterback, and tell your receivers?
That we could talk about that for a while. I think it depends on what type of formation that you're in, and certain alignments that help kind of give you certain information. The main thing that I think empty formations enable you to be able to do is activate all 5 eligibles immediately, and then there's certain empties that, teams will look at where you get into, chip looks where maybe you're non-vertical threats and people don't necessarily treat them as empty, or they have certain adjustments that they can activate. But, you do eliminate in a lot of instances the threat of running the football. So it becomes a little bit more regulated in that fashion. But the different varieties of the way that you can distribute the field increases, and the way that you can activate all your eligibles. Coverages and defensive coaches are doing such a good job the last handful of years, and really just in general. But I think it's especially prevalent over the last couple of years of being able to, overlap, change the math. And when you are forcing people to defend all 5 of your eligibles immediately, and you show that you'll activate them, it disperses the coverage in a manner that can be sometimes favorable for yourself. But, there's also tools and different things that defenses can present, where you can put it back in their favor, or they can put it back and they can grab the pen back from you. So these are things that we talk about a lot. But for us, you do give yourself the obvious option of it's known pass. Whereas you see some teams, with these guys, you still have the legitimate option of maybe some of the quarterback draws or different things that can really put pressure on people, like what you've seen Phillies and things like that do. But it's been something that's been favorable for us. But there's always pros and cons to both ends.
The information gathering is one thing. As you're saying, Matthew and Cooper, and you and I've talked about this too, about defenses. The menu of what they can do is more available to them than ever because of the way the league has changed. And is it basically a helpful tool for the quarterback to say, okay, I can kind of dictate you into something that's more clear, or is that barking up the wrong tree?
I mean, it depends on the scheme. You can get, I would say this, depending upon their philosophical approach, some defenses enable you to gather more, information than others. Are they a zone aligned? Are they a man aligned type of team? But there's a lot of different tools that they can activate where they can change it back into your favor based on understanding, all right, how many are you protecting with? And, what are the different ways that you want to be able to distribute the field? You look at it, going back to 21, we had an unbelievable amount of success getting into empty. But it's like anything else. You look at us, and I want to believe Cincinnati, had an incredibly high rate of success in empty. And that's always a part of, the offense that you look at. Now, how much you actually activate is predicated on, all right, how does it fit for us, number one? And then what are the different things that we're anticipating and expecting to try to, to try to be able to get out of that? What's the intent of the call and the intent of getting into those things? And at what point are you talking early downs? Are you talking in known passing situations? When you want to actually get into those formations. And so I know this, there's just so many layers to it. And I don't know that I'd really be saying anything that would give away too much, but I'm always a little reluctant to kind of dive into too much philosophical stuff relative to, what people can hear, whether it be, hey, you're not saying anything that I don't know or not. I'm always just a little bit more careful in those types of, settings. And hopefully, I think you understand that.
Yeah, I totally get that, but I do want to follow up and ask, it's a dramatically different success rate for you guys. And again, I know that it's a tool of many tools. You're not using it at a abnormally higher frequency or anything like that, but the success rate is dramatically different, lower than what it used to be for you guys. Is that
I think probably a lot of the ones that you're talking about for us are in like third and super long, where you get double chips that it's taken off as empty, but I don't really consider that empty. That's a different form of empty, for us, but if you look at like against Philly, we had a lot of success going in empty where you're truly in five wides, but I think the empty that I think analytics would go in depth about, it all is in the same bucket, which I get it, but empty when you're in double chip presence and empty when you're in actual five wide, that's a very different narrative and there's very different times. But our empty, I guarantee, like yesterday, we would have had a lot of empties. Those were mostly in third down and 15s, second and super longs, and we were the on those. And, I believe that that's not going to be very good. And there's a lot of reasons to that, some of which I know I can do a better job of, we can do an overall better job of. But I think when we were activating a lot of what would be, broken down as empty, those are in situations that percentage-wise aren't successful downs across the league just in general, instead of just saying, all right, this is their empty success, just as kind of one part.
That was the context that I was looking for. So I appreciate that, Sean. Thank you.
There you go.
Beat you.
Hey, Sean, what went into the decision to have John Johnson play a lot of the snaps that Russ Yeast has been getting this season? Is it John being in game shape? Is Russ healthy? What's going on?
Yeah, it was really just, I think John had earned the right to be able to get on the grass, Greg. He had done a good job. He's a guy that we had a lot of confidence in. I think there was a timetable that it took maybe a little bit longer to get himself back into the shape or feeling good and some of the different things that are in alignment with the JJ that we know. And I thought he did a really good job yesterday. And then I thought Russ capitalized on the snaps that he did play and some crucial known passing situations for us.
Okay. And just to check, were there any other injuries out of the game other than the two we talked about? And how's Kobe doing?
Kobe's doing good. He's making good progress. Puka had his shoulder banged up a little bit on the one PI that he drew. He'll be day-to-day. Coleman Shelton just got his ankle banged up a little bit, but he should be good, but he'll be day-to-day. Ben Skoranek got a hip pointer. Quentin Lake had some soreness in his hamstring. So we'll see, where he's at when we come back on Wednesday. And then everybody else, just your typical bumps and bruises. And hopefully we'll get Kobe Durant back this week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dennis?
Artist, you're going to have to knock out when I said we were the what's on some of those empties that Jordan was asking me about.
Yeah. We'll have to, we'll edit that.
Those,
I'll tell you what, those were also the types of situations to be in when you have to activate those things.
I'm not going to edit it out, but I have that liberty. So,
Dennis.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm doing great. What was Aaron Donald's imprint on yesterday's game?
It was huge. He dictates a lot of attention as always. Obviously came clean on that inside move when we ended up bringing, him and O'Shawn and Quentin Lake, and was able to put a lot of pressure on Geno. It might not always show up on the stat sheet, but the way that he affects and influences every single game with his effort, thought the red area stop that he had on second down to be able to knock Charbonnet out of bounds for a negative, was big, but just his leadership, his consistent work ethic, his consistent game day demeanor, and then the production, it's all a huge part of it. And, I think those guys, Sarah asked me at the beginning of this, why did the defensive captains get the game ball? And I think that was such a good reflection of the player-led leadership, by the Aarons, by the Ernest, by the Jordan Fullers, in addition to all the other guys that stepped up. But he had a huge impact on yesterday, Dennis. And he's going to continue to do that in a variety of ways. And he's having a lot of fun. I know this team is at their best when they're enjoying playing. They're bringing that type of energy that we want to be able to see. And I thought that was on display throughout the course of the day. And really the defense and Aaron's leadership is what kind of kept us in the fight and allowed us to be able to capitalize when those opportunities presented as a team.
And what kind of strides have the defense made since week one?
They've made a lot of strides. I think there's been some really good things. I think the younger players have gotten a lot better, especially the ones that are accumulating all that experience and using it for the right reasons. And then I also think the bye came at a good time. I thought we got some healthy bodies back for some key contributors. I thought the defensive staff did a phenomenal job, Dennis, of being able to utilize all the guys that had a jersey, where we got some different personnel groupings. Guys all have roles. They're owning their roles. And I think that enables us to be able to stay fresher throughout the course of a game. And I thought that was why yesterday was definitely one of our better performances as a defense. And, they were outstanding. And it's definitely something that we want to be able to build on this last half of the season.